Stem cell transplantation is, still kind of underpinning technology in the treatment of many high-risk hematological malignancies. And for many patients, it's the only curative strategy. And yet, more than 50% of patients who undergo transplant are either destined to die of transplant complications or disease recurrence. We're now in a position with allogeneic transplantation where almost everybody has a donor because of the increased size of unrelated registries, the great promise of cord blood, and there's also, I think, further down the track, the promise that haplo-identical transplant may in certain patients be of value, but we need more data on that. So if you have a donor for everyone, you're really obliged to actually start thinking about every transplant being a successful transplant. And that means trying to tackle these stubborn causes of transplant failure that I've referred to. And that can really only be done through prospective randomized trials. And we are not alone in, as a community, in having found it very difficult to deliver prospective randomized trials, despite the fact that the Clinical Trials Committee of the BSBMT has worked very hard. It really hasn't had the supporting infrastructure. A hub that facilitates development of trials, and then investment in these very busy transplant centres across the UK that give us the scale. And so we really have to take our hats off to Anthony Nolan, to Leuka and to NHS BT for identifying more than £3.5 million, which they're investing over the next 4 years in a pilot transplant trials network that's going to be called Impact, a platform for accelerated clinical trials. And the structure will be a hub that's going to facilitate rapid workup of trials that have been approved by the Clinical Trials Committee of the BSBMT, and that work's going to be led by a newly appointed medical director, Professor David Marks. And at the same time, there's going to be investment of a research nurse through a competitive process in at least 10, we hope more, major transplant centres. So you instantly create a very powerful delivery mechanism. You have a hub that facilitates workup of trials and busts the bureaucracy, speeds it all up. And at the same time, for the first time really, you have a properly resourced trials network that, of course, because of the scale of the UK, can cover a potential catchment region of more than 20 million. And that makes us one of the very few integrated, cohesive transplant trials networks in the world. So there's a huge possibility for the UK now to lead practice-informing transplant studies, both in patients undergoing autologous and allogeneic transplant in a range mostly of malignant, but not exclusively, mostly malignant diseases. And it's through this process that I think we're plausibly going to chip away at these stubborn causes of failure, going to devise and deliver new strategies to reduce relapse, and at the same time reduce further the toxicity associated with transplants. It's extremely exciting development, and it's really only happened because there's been such a collegiate will among transplanters and among partners, as I said, notably Anthony Nolan, Leuka and NHS BT, to actually work together to do something to help our patients. And it's been a process that, although it's taken 6 years, there's never been a crossword, and everybody's focused on the ultimate aim, which is to help our patients.